Weirdly fascistic, foul-mouthed teenager David Hogg says anti-gun activists are about to start a revolution against gun owners, which raises the question, if you start an anti-gun revolution against gun owners, won't the gun owners have all the guns? Just asking for a friend. We'll talk about the children's crusade against our constitutional rights with semi-child Michael Knowles. And there's lots of other news, but most importantly, we have to talk about Stormy Daniels' sex life because something. Trigger warning, I'm Andrew Klavan, and this is The Andrew Klavan Show.
I feel hunky-dunky, life is tickety-boo. Birds are winging, also singing hunky-dunky-doo. Ship-shape, tipsy-topsy, the world is zippity-zing. It's a wonderful day, hurrah, hooray! It makes me want to sing. Oh, hurrah, hooray! Oh, hooray, hurrah!
All right, Michael Knowles will come on later, but I do want to congratulate CBS. They have finally forced me to talk about Stormy Daniels. I finally, they were having parties in New York to watch Stormy Daniels be interviewed on 60 Minutes about her alleged sexual relationship with a billionaire playboy who had sexual relationships with all kinds of people. And this is news because I'm not sure why, but so many people were watching it. We really have to talk about it. I heard that in gyms, young unmarried women, people tweeted about this, would stop what they were doing to watch the show, probably because they were thinking, I wonder how I can get a billionaire. Now, many times, when I do commercials for Keeps, which is a product for, if you want to keep your hair, if you don't have hair loss, people laugh at me. Don't laugh at me. Stop laughing at me. I hate it. No, it's because I can remember the day, I swear I can. I was in a bodega in New York City, and they have those security mirrors on the wall so they can see down the aisles and see if anybody's stealing anything. And I caught the sight of myself reflected in two of these mirrors, and I could see the back of my head, and I could see that I was losing my hair, which I always knew I would because every male in my family loses his hair. And I remember that sinking feeling of, well, here we go. You can stop that. You can stop that with Keeps. Keeps is the easiest way to keep your hair. Keeps offers the only 2 hair loss products that are clinically proven to keep the hair you have. You can sign up with them in 5 minutes, and it's entirely online. Keeps is only $10 to $35 a month, so it's $1 a day or less on average, and that's half of what you would typically pay at the pharmacy. Getting started with Keeps is easy. You just answer a few questions, snap some photos of yourself. A licensed doctor remotely reviews your information and gives you the right prescription, all without ever leaving your couch. Within 2 to 3 days, a 3-month supply of your treatment will arrive perfectly packaged at your door. You can stop hair loss today the easy way with Keeps, offering customized treatment plans with the only clinically proven hair loss products for about $1 a day. To receive your first month of treatment for free, go to keeps.com/Klavan, because that makes them laugh too. Spell it Klavan. That's no E's. No, the E's are in Keeps. It's KEEPS.com/Klavan, Klavan. That's a free month of treatment at keeps.com/Klavan. Keeps, hair today, hair tomorrow. Don't let this happen to you. All right. I know you're looking, you're thinking, no, you're beautiful. Maybe I can just let my hair fall out. Get the Keeps. It'll keep your hair. It's much easier. All right. So before we get to the sex, before we get to Stormy Daniels, and we do have to talk about this because it really, what it really is it's the failure of the media to get Trump with their phony Russian collusion thing. That Russian collusion story is blowing up on them, and suddenly the FBI looks really, really bad, and it looks really corrupt. And it means the Obama administration, it's not the FBI, obviously, it's only the leadership of the FBI, which was put in place, and the DOJ, which was put in place by Obama. So he's beginning to look corrupt, so they've got to find something else. They're scrambling. Well, we got a girl he slept with. He slept with a woman. Donald Trump slept with a woman. You did not. I mean, oh my God. So it's like we're supposed to all run around in circles about this. But I want to just say we're going to talk about the March Against Guns with Knowles, but I want to just point something out. The New York Times, a former newspaper, had an article an editorial attacking a proposed Ohio bill which would ban abortions. And obviously the point of the bill is to go to the Supreme Court and get Roe v. Wade overturned. And so the New York Times starts screaming about this, saying, well, abortion is the law of the land. And it says bills like the Ohio total abortion ban seem outrageous because they are. But if there's any lesson to learn from them, it's that the Republican anti-abortion strategy doesn't stop with one extreme bill. If it's up to them, they won't stop until it's impossible for many or all women in America to kill their children. They don't say that, but that's what they mean. So basically, you have the New York Times making the same argument about abortion that we on the right are making about the Second Amendment. Those kids out there saying, we don't want to take all the guns, but then you look around and you see a lot of signs saying repeal the Second Amendment, get rid of all guns, ban guns. They don't know what they're talking about. They all just want to ban guns because somehow that's the thing that gets them on television. That's the thing that is making their lives so exciting. That's where their emotions have been guided by their teachers and the media around them. But it's interesting that it's the same argument. It is interesting that we're both saying this is the law of the land. You can't just ban guns if you want to. You have to obey the Constitution. The New York Times is saying you have to obey what 5 judges said the Constitution says, but we're all making the same argument. And the point is that the argument is between people who believe that we are the leaders of the country. We, the people, are the leaders of the country, and because government tends by nature to expand and take over everything and has been expanding since really the turn of the century, has been expanding through these regulatory agencies and all the ways that has reached into our lives. I mean, the last president of the United States wanted to force Catholic nuns to pay for birth control, and some of the birth control may have caused abortions. They wanted to force religious people to break their religion according to the law. They basically said to Catholic nuns, you cannot have an adoption service. They said to the Catholic Church, you can't have an adoption service if you don't place children with gay couples. So you have to violate your principles. You have to violate your religious beliefs. I mean, this is how far the government has now extended. It has extended into every aspect of your life, and they wonder why we want guns. I mean, the whole thing about government is all guns. That is what constitutes the government. That's what makes the government the government. What makes the government is it can shoot you legally. That is what makes the government the government. If you don't pay your taxes, they put you in jail. But if you don't want to go to jail, they come and arrest you. What if you don't want to let them arrest you? They have the guns, and they can use them. And it's legal for them to use them, and no one gets punished for them. That is why the founders wanted us to have the guns. Their argument is that that baby is not a person. Now, if you committed a murder and the police went in and found your DNA, they would know it was you because only you have that DNA. That baby is the only person who has that DNA. So when you eradicate it, you are killing, it seems to me, another person. It may not be a fully developed person, but it is a person. So that's the argument we're having. These are the two sides. And it really does matter. It really does matter. I mean, it matters. It's not like I don't want to get along. It's not like I enjoy having a country that's so angry and so much in opposition. But we are arguing about some serious stuff here. And I think that, we're going to have this argument. Meanwhile, what's the news covering? Covering a porn star. Covering a porn star. CBS got something like 20 million viewers to tune in to watch this porn star talk about the fact that she slept with Donald Trump before he was president of the United States. I mean, I know it's prurient. It pains me in a way to play it, but I really do have to play some of this because it's Anderson Cooper, right? Anderson Cooper started out, he was going to be the big investigative journalist. Just listen to this. This is Stormy Daniels, this porn star, meets Donald Trump, this billionaire playboy. Cut number 4.
It started off all about him, just talking about himself. And he's like, have you seen my new magazine?
He was showing you his own picture on the cover of the magazine.
Right. And so I was like, does this normally work for you? And he looked very taken back, like he didn't really understand what I was saying. I was just, talking about yourself normally work? And I was like, someone should take that magazine and spank you with it. And I'll never forget the look on his face. And he was like,
what was the look?
Just, I don't think anyone's ever spoken to him like that, especially, a young woman who looked like me. And I said, give me that. And I just remember going, you wouldn't. I was like, hand it over. And so he did. And I was like, turn around, drop him.
You told Donald Trump to turn around and take off his pants?
Yes.
And did he?
Yes. So he turned around and pulled his pants down a little. He had underwear on and stuff, and I just gave him a couple swats.
This was done in a joking manner.
Yes. And from that moment on, he was a completely different person.
How so?
He quit talking about himself, and he asked me things, and I asked him things, and it just became like, a more appropriate.
Became more comfortable.
Yeah. He's like, wow, you are special. You remind me of my daughter. He's like, you're smart, beautiful, and a woman to be reckoned with. And I like you. I like you.
There's nothing like a good spanking to earn respect from billionaire playboys. There's nothing like a porn star offering to spank you that makes you that really won his respect. Anderson, what happened to you? You were a journalist. You set out to be a journalist. What the hell happened to you? Oh, my Lord. So this is important. I do not know why this is important, but except girls, don't be like this. Don't be like this girl. This is a woman who is basically telling you that she somehow won this exchange with this playboy who's out on the make, I assume, on the make to get her. Let's just assume. We're going to assume Trump says the story isn't true. Like, I don't see how it can not be true. I mean, the guy is a billionaire playboy who runs beauty contests. What is he doing? If he's not doing that, he's letting down the side. If he didn't sleep with Stormy Daniels, the billionaire playboys are going to have to call him in for disciplinary action. They're going to have to say, why? Wait a minute. You had a porn star offering to spank you with a magazine and you didn't sleep with her? What's wrong with you? I mean, it's not a news story. It really is like saying Farmer Farms. We have breaking news on 60 Minutes. We're going to dedicate the entire hour to the fact that a farmer was farming. The fact that a billionaire playboy is having this conversation with Stormy Daniels means absolutely nothing. But the thing that gets me about it is the whole attitude this woman has. This is obviously her flirting. She obviously started it. She didn't start it, but she obviously went along with this when a woman who looks like that, who is a porn star, says, oh, you should be spanked with that magazine. That's a sexual come on, come on. That is not winning respect. That is a sexual come on. She knew exactly what she was doing. And then she says she goes to his apartment and he takes this as the fact that she's going to have sex with him. And she says, oh, I deserve this. I don't want to do it, but I deserve it because I came to the apartment. I went into an apartment alone with him. So now I have to have sex with him because I deserve it. Girls, do not be like Stormy Daniels. I mean, you can say no. You're allowed, even if you made the mistake of going to a guy's apartment when you shouldn't have, you're always allowed to say no and leave. Believe me, this is not what you want to be like. But I love the way it's kind of like she's putting this forward as if it were empowering when it's just this, it's what it is. It's a trashy get-together, a trashy hookup. So let's play the second thing. She doesn't want to have sex, but she has to because she went there alone. Something. This is cut 5.
I asked him if I could use his restroom, and he said yes. It's through through the bedroom. You'll see it. So I excused myself, and I went to the restroom. I was in there for a little bit and came out, and he was sitting, on the edge of the bed when I walked out, perched.
And when you saw that, what went through your mind?
I realized exactly what I'd gotten myself into, and I was like, ugh. Here we go. And I just felt like maybe it was sort of, I had it coming for making a bad decision for going to someone's room alone. And I just heard the voice in my head, well, you put yourself in a bad situation and bad things happen. So you deserve this.
And you had sex with him?
Yes.
You were 27, he was 60. Were you physically attracted to him?
No.
Not at all?
No.
Did you want to have sex with him?
No. But I didn't say no. I'm not a victim. I'm not.
It was entirely consensual.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Did they have a shower strong enough for Cooper after this? It's like this, they get the muck off. It's like, I'm sorry. Maybe I shouldn't be laughing. Here's the thing about democracy and capitalism. They are machines for serving mankind. Capitalism and Republican democracy, a republic, serve mankind. How do they do it? They take human nature and they pit it against each other. So they have power centers. Instead of having all the power in one place, the way the left always wants it, they have different power centers that have to fight against each other. The church is a power center. The individual is a power center. Your local association is a power center. The House is a power center. Senate, judiciary, president, different separation of powers that have to fight with each other. And that way, even though you have bad guys in government, you still can produce good things. Same thing with capitalism. You take the inner desires of people, greed, and you actually make them serve mankind. In order to serve your greed, you have to make something that people want. Steve Jobs was a bad guy. How do I know? Because Steve Jobs said, I am a bad guy. He said, I'm really not a very nice person. However, does anybody want Steve Jobs to go away? Did anybody want him not to make the iPhone and not to change our lives and not to create these beautiful designs out of electronics? Of course not. Of course not. He did it for his own reasons. The system was built to take a bad guy like Steve Jobs and produce something good out of it. All we care about with Donald Trump, we know who he was. We knew who he was when we voted for him. It's not like Mike Pence. If Mike Pence had done something like this, we would have to say, oh, everything about this guy is false. He's just not really putting forward a true picture of himself. Donald Trump, no way. We knew exactly who he was. There was one quote in that entire 60 Minutes episode that might have been news if they had anything to back it up besides this woman's very questionable testimony, which was this, cut number 6.
I was in a parking lot going to a fitness class with my infant daughter. I was taking, the seats facing backwards in the back seat, diaper bag, getting all the stuff out. And a guy walked up on me and said to me, leave Trump alone, forget the story. And then he leaned around and looked at my daughter and said, it's a beautiful little girl. It'd be a shame if something happened to her mom. And then he was gone.
You took it as a direct threat?
Absolutely. I was rattled. I remember going into the workout class and my hands were shaking so much I was afraid I was going to drop her.
Did you ever see that person again?
No. But if I did, I would know it right away. I'll never forget it.
You'd be able to recognize that person?
100%. Even now, all these years later. If he walked in the store right now, I would instantly know.
Did you go to the police?
No.
Why?
Because I was scared.
By the way, of course, we all remember that the women who accused Bill Clinton of raping them or assaulting them, some of them also said they were threatened and they were treated by the press like hookers, even though their sex was not consensual. This woman had consensual sex. However, if that story is true, if they can back it up, if they have anything to back it up, that's a news story. That's the only news story in the entire thing. If anybody who was paid by Donald Trump or working for Donald Trump made a threat against somebody, that's an actual news story. That's illegal. Everything else is sex. It's truly none of our business. This is happening because the Russian collusion story is falling apart. Not only is the House Intelligence Committee mopping up its investigation, everything is pointing to dishonesty at the top of the FBI and the DOJ, not in the working, not in the places where the guys do the actual work, but in the leadership that was put in place by Obama. Andrew McCabe's firing. Andrew McCabe wrote a piece. Remember, he was the deputy director, fired not by Donald Trump, fired because an internal investigation, the DOJ Inspector General's investigation turned up that he had lied under oath or lacked candor, they said, under oath about a story he leaked to the press. And that went to the FBI's Internal Affairs Division, and Jeff Sessions fired Andrew McCabe. And it did not cost him his pension, as they kept reporting. That's not true, although it may cost him some money. McCabe wrote a piece saying, well, did he lie? No, he said, at worst, I was not clear in my responses, and because of what was going on around me, I may well have been confused and distracted, and for that, I take full responsibility. But that's just what Mike Flynn said. Remember, Mike Flynn, the National Security Advisor, was tossed out of office because the FBI accused him of lying, and he has confessed to admitted guilt to lying to the FBI about conversations he had with Russian diplomats. And he said it was confusing. It was during the transition period. It was all legal. It was legal for him to do it. He was just convicted or pled guilty to lying about it. It's not that it was illegal to do it. He just didn't get his story right to the FBI. So McCabe is being treated much, much better than Michael Flynn. Michael Flynn was thrown out, had to leave his post as National Security Advisor. His life has basically been ruined for nothing, as far as I can tell. He's been truly mistreated by the Mueller investigation. He was replaced by H.R. McMaster, who never, was a good man, but he and Trump never saw eye to eye. Now he's gone, and John Bolton is taking his place. So It's really interesting. And of course, they keep saying this is chaos in the White House, but that's not chaos. Basically, there was a conspiracy by the DOJ, FBI, and Mueller to get rid of Michael Flynn, to nail him in a way that was really unfair. And now they've gotten around to appointing John Bolton. Let's go to Knucklehead Row for the New York Times calm, rational take about this.
Oh, hey, hey, oh, hey, oh, let's go waltzing down to Knucklehead Row.
The New York Times editorial is, yes, John Bolton really is that dangerous. There are few people more likely than Mr. Bolton is to lead the country into war. How is the National Security Advisor going to lead the country into war? His selection is a decision that is as alarming as any Mr. Trump has made. His selection, along with the nomination of the hardline CIA Director Mike Pompeo as Secretary of State, shows the degree to which Mr. Trump is indulging his worst nationalistic instincts. What are they worried about? Well, before we go to that, let's look at Tim Kaine. I want you to remember, Tim Kaine was the vice presidential candidate with Hillary Clinton, right? A woman who, well, let's hear what he said. This is full Joe McCarthy stuff. Remember Joe McCarthy used to come out and say, Mr. Chairman, I have in my hand the names of communists in the State Department. And you'd never get to see the list. Here's Tim Kaine on John Bolton.
Reports surfaced right after he was named about a speech that he gave in Russia in 2013 at the request of a Russian oligarch who's very close to Vladimir Putin. These kinds of contacts with foreign governments, especially in the words of General Dunford, who's the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Russia is the chief nation-state adversary of the United States. These kinds of contacts raise real questions in my mind about whether he could get a full security clearance or not. We've already lost one national security advisor, Michael Flynn, because he was lying about contacts with foreign governments and had to be let go. I think even though the Senate doesn't get a vote to confirm the national security advisor, I have many, many questions, not only about John Bolton's philosophy, but about these contacts with Russia and potentially other governments.
Sleazy peasy from the vice presidential candidate of the presidential candidate whose husband was taking $500,000 to make speeches in Russia. And then Mrs. Clinton then arranged or helped Russia get clearance to purchase some of our uranium supplies. I mean, what is he talking about? He's talking about John Bolton made a speech in Russia. Now that's a problem. That makes him an enemy of the state. And he says he can't get a security clearance. Know how you get a security clearance? The President of the United States says you have a security clearance, then you have a security clearance. I mean, he's talking absolute trash. And this is why we're watching Stormy Daniels. It is because everything they do keeps blowing up in their face. They got Mike Flynn, and what did they get instead? They got John Bolton, the man they hate and fear more than anybody else. Why? Because John Bolton says we have to stand up to North Korea, and the Iran deal was a mistake. Now, Bolton is being very cagey about what he'll say because he said, well, that's all in the past, and I can't really talk about what I'll say to the president. But we've got, Bolton has never been shy about expressing his opinions. So let's just listen for a minute. Remember back when Trump had to certify the Iran deal, they asked Bolton if he should certify the Iran deal. Here was his response, cut 10.
To the real question, which is this a good deal for the United States or not? If it's not a good deal, we should get out of it. And that's what he said during the campaign. That's what he should do. I'm not aware of any major agreement the United States has internationally, not treaties, not executive agreements, not anything that has a legislative companion comparable to the Corker-Cardin bill that requires this certification process. And I have to say, the Corker-Cardin bill was a mistake from the get-go, and this whole debate over certification is one more pernicious effect of it. I just repeal the whole thing. I don't care really whether he certifies or not. It's better to decertify, but it's not enough if you don't get out of the deal. And you ask yourself, how logically can the president say this deal is not in America's national interest, but by gosh, I'm going to stay in it?
This is what the New York Times is worried about. They say this deal has stopped the Iranians from making nuclear weapons. You want to bet? I mean, this is the thing. Everything they say when they say this is going to start a war, they're not thinking about the fact that 10 years down the line, they're going to have nuclear weapons, and then what? then we're just helpless. That's kind of what they're looking for. I don't think that that's what they're looking for. I think they're just cowards. They're just cowards, and they hate the sound of men standing up to bad guys. They just hate that noise that it makes, because they're little girls running around throwing their skirts over their faces. They just hate the sound of a guy like John Bolton, who's just telling the truth. We all know it. We all know we have to stand up to North Korea. We all know we can't let the guy just sit there, that madman, sit there building nuclear weapons. So what is the problem? It's dangerous? Yeah, it is dangerous. It's dangerous to stand up to these guys. But the real point is simply this. Everything we're watching is this ceaseless attempt to create a narrative about Donald Trump that somehow he is unfit to serve as president of the United States, that your vote shouldn't matter, your vote should be turned around, the vote should be nullified because they know so much more than you do. And that is why we're listening to a porn star. That's why we're listening to a porn star talk about her creepy little, get-together with a guy. It's like, because it's all they've got. This Russian thing has fallen apart. They got Mike Flynn, and now instead they have John Bolton, the guy they fear more than anybody else in the world. The only victory that they have scored recently is this omnibus bill, and we will talk about that if we have time. If we don't have time today, we'll talk about it tomorrow. But first, we're going to go talk to Michael Knowles about this gun march, anti-gun march, because this is actually part of the same story. If we can get Knowles on the Skype, he is in New York. What's he doing in New York? Who let him out of the house? It's just, gosh, this is terrible news for New York. We have to say goodbye to Facebook and YouTube, but come on over to thedailywire.com, subscribe, and then you can watch the whole thing right there without being cast into the exterior darkness where there is great wailing and gnashing of teeth. It's a lousy $9.99 a month. Are you so cheap that you can't make your life so much better? If you pay the $99.99 for the whole year, which actually saves you some money, but I can't compute how much because I was an English major. But then you get the Leftist Tears Tumblr, which automatically fills with leftist tears as their narrative collapses. Their narrative collapses, becomes leftist tears, automatically funneled into the Tumblr. Drink it, it cures your pimples. Come on over to thedailywire.com.